There are barriers in many different things in life, and in the world of sales, there are objections. But when it comes to entering the world of sales, there shouldn't be barriers that hinder you from enjoying an amazing career. And on this episode, my friend DeJuan Brown and I are going to discuss what are some of those barriers that are holding people of color back from entering into sales and how we can help to ensure we lower or remove those barriers so that all can enjoy the blessings and the opportunities of sales. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast here on TSE TV on YouTube. I am your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, yes, today, ladies and gentlemen, we have the one and only Mr. DeJuan Brown. And DeJuan is the Senior Director of Global Sales for an amazing company called Seismic. And DeJuan has been on our podcast in the past when we did the Accidental Seller. And then he's been on an episode in the past before that. So I think this is our third episode with DeJuan, if I'm not mistaken. But here's what DeJuan and I are going to break down. When it comes towards professional selling, there's some barriers that tend to hold people back or keep certain people out. And when it comes towards people of color entering into the sales world or overcoming some of those barriers, we want to help them. We want to make sure everyone can enjoy the opportunities that there is that we can be afforded in sales. So in this episode, you're going to hear how DeJuan breaks down what are some of those barriers and then how we can overcome those barriers, remove them so that everyone can enjoy sales. It's going to be good. DeJuan, thank you, man, for being willing to come on the show and talk to me about this topic and have this discussion with me. Frankly, we know it's important and it's needed, and there's a lot to it. So welcome back to the show, though, man, and I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you for having me on again, man. It's always good to talk to you.
Sure. Now, I bragged about you during a little bit, some of the things that you're doing right now, your new role, and all the
Yes.
successes that you're seeing, that you're in a book as well. So all that
Yeah.
stuff I chat about you. So hopefully you get some new friends who hit you
Yeah.
up on LinkedIn.
I appreciate it. Yeah, always looking for good connections, man.
So DeJuan, here's a problem at hand right now. This in sales right now, the studies show that 78.9% of salespeople, no matter across all industries,
Mhm.
in the B2B space is white,
Yeah.
and about 11.2% are black, and then the remainder, it's just everybody else.
Yeah.
We got a problem, man. We got
We
a problem.
do. We do.
We
We
got a
have a big
problem.
problem.
So what I want to talk about, because you and I both know, we're going to talk about this later on in our episode, there are so much success, and everyone listening to this episode know that sales is such a powerful avenue for generating income, for improved
Yes.
confidence, for growth. There's so much benefits to sales,
That's right.
but there are barriers that might be in place, whether they're
Mhm.
implicit or they're visible or they're not visible.
Yeah.
What are some of those barriers? I want you to tackle that with me for the next little bit. And how do
Yeah.
we overcome those barriers?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's a good question, and you're right. I mean, it's a problem. There can be, and no list that we come up with or no discussion we have today is going to be exhaustive, but certainly we can look at things like stigma and perception of sales generally, right? If we move from that, we can start to look at things like what do job descriptions say that they want. Those themselves become barriers to entry for everyone, and then specifically black people, right? Black sellers looking at these job descriptions, if they have no experience in a specific space, calling for 5, 7, 10 years of experience in the space before you can even get a nod to look at the role or get an interview. That's another thing.
Yeah.
The idea of the perception that sellers don't make money, like sales is a plan B, C, D, E for
Yeah.
some people. If everything else fails, then I'll look at sales. So these are some of the things that bubble up to the top of my mind as potential barriers for entry for black and brown people to get into sales.
And I don't know about you for the Caribbean side. So that's a
Mhm.
whole nother element when you talk about Caribbean, black and brown folks. Everyone know,
Mhm.
any Jamaican listening to this, you know them. A mother and father say, I forgot, go to school and get education and be a man
Right.
and make money. And you come
Yeah.
home, you tell your parents, yeah, I want to be a salesperson. I want to be in sales. Like,
Ooh.
whew. we asked me money for 4 years, Panya.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yes. So what can you tell them? Let's just break that stigma down. Like,
Yeah.
why that such not? Where that pervasive idea come from, and why is it there? And how do we get past that one?
Yeah, a part of it is like it's sort of life imitating art or self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, growing up in a community that I grew up in, sales was looked at the same way, as in your family, right? Where it's just like, what? Yeah, you're gonna get into sales. Like the only salespeople we know in this community are car salesmen, door-to-door insurance salesmen, the Kirby vacuum guy, right? Or gal. And these aren't desirable roles, right? These are the people that you slam your door on. These are the people that you tell your kids to tell them that you're not home. These are the people that, you know what I mean? You cut the lights off inside the house and duck behind the furniture when they come. So
Rub the one.
I'm Petersburg, Virginia. So yeah, it's a small city, but it's inner city
Yeah.
um, all day. And it's just like, there's no sense of, there's the possibility that someone can be a professional
Yeah.
in this space in sales and actually make an honest living helping people, right? That's not the concept when it comes to sales, at least where I'm from, and it sounds like
Yeah.
where you're from too.
Mhm.
And so just the mere stigma, the idea of what sales is and what it's not, what it can't, there's no potential to see potential impact from sales because they don't see people in the space usually in our communities, and we want to change that.
And I think you're right with that. I think it's if my mom had seen like that, what some of these professional sellers are making for an income,
Right.
and and not have that stigma, it would change, right? And
Yeah.
I remember one of the first times when the most money that my family ever had at one point, was, I remember back in high school, you're talking to mama more about this stuff in middle school,
Yeah.
was about 3 grand, and that was from income tax. And that was
Wow.
the most at one moment that we ever had as
Yeah.
a family. And it was like, wow. So then now when I went and did door-to-door security sales for the
Mhm.
summer, I was a door-to-door security guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did make almost like within, 6 times that in three,
Shoot.
4 months doing security sales. So then you're looking at this and you're seeing, the success that can come from it, but then not even the scratching the surface to the professional side. I didn't even think that six figure was possible
That's
in
right.
sales growing up in high school. I just didn't think that was a possibility,
That's
but
right.
it happens. And I think it also go back to what you said. People don't look. We don't see anyone in the community who's doing that. So it's like,
Mhm.
you're doing something that you're wasting your time,
That's
Donald.
right.
On this, but that portion, how can we adjust that and change that so we can see more reflection in the community,
Yeah.
with the world?
It's important for people like you and me, and others who have experienced what professional sales career can actually provide for a family, or a generation or a couple generations, to be honest with you, right? There needs to be, we need to be vocal, and we need to be talking to people, and we need to be, helping to change the stigma. The other part of it is like, even if I did, like, because my dad sold insurance since 1977, there were people in his company, and including him, who did make good money. Some of the
Mhm.
people that were making, six figures at that time in insurance sales, I still thought, I didn't think that they were cool. Like I didn't. I thought that the way that I looked at them, I was just like, oh, they're putting on a face. They're playing a role. They're not
Yeah.
being themselves. Not that my dad was doing that, but just when I would go to, he would take me to the office, take me to, some of the meetings and things like that, which was probably odd at the time, but I'm an only child. So he would take me around to some of these things, and what I would see is just like, people who were saying one thing in front of the group and then going off into the corner by the water cooler and talking all kinds of, I mean, it wasn't genuine,
Yeah.
the way I experienced it. And so to see people that look like you, who have similar sensibilities as you, similar tastes as you, doing really well in the field, that's a game changer. And so we need to, those of us who are living that life, need to put it on display to some degree to attract other people into this space. And then not only should we attract them into this space, we actually need to help them understand how they can crack the nut and kind of get themselves into the door.
Love that, man. So so far making basically advertising it, showing it.
Yeah.
One thought that comes to mind too. If you think look at Elon Musk, what he did with aerospace. How many people are running around with NASA shirts on right now,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Became become it's nerdy became cool again, right? So
Hmm.
same idea here. Can we redo that in some way with professional selling and show that, yeah, this is it's G Unit over here, man. You make good
That's
money.
right. That's right. That's right. And I'm telling and I tell people to this day, right? Like I have people who like, what is it that you do? And I tell them, I say, they're like, man, yeah, I could never do that. And I'm just like, I know you. I know your life. You're already doing it, right? Your entire life is predicated on your ability to move people, right? I
Yeah.
know what you do. I know where you live. I know how you're moving around. I know what your expertise is. I see you killing it in your own space. Like you could actually transition some of those skills and those talents, a lot of which are innate, and parlay them into a really, really nice sales career. Let me show you how.
We're gonna bring this back to a previous episode that you did with me 2 years ago now.
Mhm.
2019, and 20 was like a blur, so I keep saying
Oh
last.
yeah, big blur.
But in 2019, the accidental seller, and in that episode, you talked about your experience. Where did you start off, Dewan? It sounds like you were
Yeah.
just yourself there.
Yeah, yeah. So I started off waiting tables, like in terms of work. I was waiting tables, I was bartending. And even then I didn't realize that there was a such thing as a good waiter, good bartender, bad. I was just doing my thing, right? Like
Yeah.
anticipating needs, making sure that if I knew what the special was and we had spiffs in the restaurant that says, hey, if you sell X amount of, tall cakes, then you get, X amount of extra dollars. So I had to, I went the length, right? The extra mile to really persuade and have conversations with people to make them understand like, hey, this is a regular guy, he's communicating with us, he's anticipating our needs, he's doing all of these things. So I was killing it. I was making like $1,000 a week way back then,
Mm.
waiting tables. And then somebody, one of my good friends who, we used to hang out and all of these things, he had gotten a job on the web team at Intuit, and he was just like, D Brown, I'm telling you, you need to apply to sell. You locking yourself into a box, man. You really need to be selling, man. These guys are making some decent money. And I fought him off for a very long time, and he kind of kept pushing through. He would not give up. Finally, I apply to Intuit. I get this part-time role that's 16 hours a week, and the rest is history, to be quite honest with you. And I gave him a major shout out on my ICU Fridays, Michael Brooks. This guy would not give up on me. Like no matter where we were, what we were doing, he would always like, you applied yet? That
Yeah.
type of thing. And so again, like having someone who looks like me, from the same environment as me, doing similar things. He got into the tech space, and he decided to do what I'm talking about. We all need to do right now is to look around him and say, man, these guys could be doing what I see these other guys doing.
Yeah.
And they just don't know it. So we need to put that spark in them and let them know what we see in them, and then bring them along for the ride and let them know how it can be done.
We need to recruit the next generation.
We do. We need to recruit them. We need to attract them, and then when we bring them in, like it's extremely important that we have, a place or a way for them to actually grow and learn and kind of help them navigate some of the pitfalls that we fall into. And I know you probably fell into some of the same pitfalls I did coming into sales. And
And
yeah,
balls,
yeah,
barriers,
right.
hurricane.
Yeah. And some people are really, really interested in helping you to navigate around those, and some are not. So to have a trusted community or a group of people or a couple people that have your best interests at heart, and then have them walking you through that process and helping you to avoid those pitfalls, man, it can be life changing. And so that's exactly what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, if you don't mind speaking on this, a couple more, you kind of hit on this here, Dewan, already, but the job description, and we kind of talked about the wealth already, but
Mhm.
job description is a huge piece, and you prompted
Yeah.
me the story when I first got into sales. They needed someone with 10 years of software sales. Uh, and 10
Right.
years. I don't think software been around that long. You're talking
Right. It's just like, what? Where am I supposed to get that experience from?
why is this a barrier, or why do we need to lower those barriers? I mean, devil's advocate, you might say, well, I want experienced people, people that can sell really well.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. So debunk that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's two lines of thought that's going on at the same time, right? An organization that says to themselves, we need experienced people. one of the questions we need to ask is why? Like why that level of experience? What is 10 years? Why 10 years and not 9?
Mm.
Right? Why 5 years and not 3? Right? There's this magic number that is presupposed to have given someone the types of insights that they need to be successful in the space. And the fact is, we know what the attributes of a strong seller are, and when we look at those attributes, usually when we see those attributes, they're internal attributes, or they're things that are sort of intangible attributes. Like people talk about grit, people talk about tenacity, people talk about perseverance, people talk about these sorts of skill sets, but you don't just pick those up just because you've been doing something for 10 years, right? And so the why behind it is interesting to me. The other why that could be possible is that, I mean, maybe if I'm trying to get a plug and play person, somebody who has 10 years experience in this space, and I just want to take them and plug them in and give them my product to let them study that and then go at it, that's one thing. But what we're finding is that organizations who spend a good amount of time and investment in enabling their people and onboarding their people and training their people, you don't actually need someone who has 10 years of experience. You need
Mm.
someone with all of the bones that make up successful sellers. And then if you are confident in your onboarding and your training scenario within your organization, you can teach that stuff, right? There's some things you
Yeah.
can't teach. You can't teach grit. You can't teach perseverance. You can't teach empathy. You can't teach EQ, right? But you certainly can teach your product and your ICP. So why not look at people for their aptitude, their ability to learn the content, and then take it from there? And so it's a barrier because when you look at a job description that says, "Hey, we're hiring for this," and you have an interest in getting into sales, and you look at the JD and you see 10 years, like you literally are not going to apply, right? And so a lot of companies are cutting people off at the door, but I've been in some of those companies with less experience through connection and being able to tell my story, to tie what I did in life and work to what they're expecting in their space. And then I get behind the veil and I look around and I see so many people who don't look like me, who don't have nearly the experience that was required on the job description. And I'm like, I almost didn't apply. You almost didn't have me, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's a big conundrum that we need to make some adjustments in if we really are serious about bringing in talent, from the Black community.
And what I'm getting from this is that one, the company needs to adjust, and then two, we should as individuals, say like the young Donald you're speaking to there when I was applying for my sales gig,
Yeah,
is we need mentors to motivate, inspire young Donalds to apply and
that's
to
right.
craft that resume accordingly, because there
Mhm.
is the aptitude there, as well as giving me the confidence to say you can still do this, doesn't matter what that job description said.
That's right. And so we want to make sure that as we're mentoring young Black people who want to come into the sales space, we need to make sure that we're giving them all of the truth, right? And a part of that truth is sometimes you see things on the job description, and who knows who wrote the job description and what they were aiming for, but ultimately what they need is someone in this seat who can do the work and can show the aptitude and has the attitude that's associated with it. If we can get to a point where we get the interviewer or the hiring manager to focus on aptitude, attitude, and then skill, which is what
Mhm.
many people say they focus on anyway, then we can help a young seller or a young aspiring seller to get to the place where they can get an interview, succeed in that interview through being able to explain and articulate the transference of skills from life and work in the past to the skills that are needed in order to be successful in the role that they're applying for. And if we can do that, then we move the needle almost automatically just by having people who would have never applied begin to have the confidence that they should apply and the confidence to believe that they actually can push through the interview process.
Oh, speaking truth. Love
Yeah,
it. I want to shift gears a little bit and go into the
yeah,
second half of this here. We want to talk about, because there's some people right now who are doing some amazing stuff when it
that's
comes
right.
to selling. Um, let's highlight that there are people out there right now that overcame
Mhm.
those barriers, like
Yeah,
you, for instance,
yeah.
and are also changing that. And I can't wait to see what the study is going to be in 5 years, where
Hmm.
that number from 10% or 11.2% goes up to a couple notches there,
Yeah,
for them. Let's just talk about that. Who are some people right now, you can call them out, that
yeah.
are well, and what we have right going on right now that overcame some of those barriers.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that the person that's right at the top of my mind is Jacob Geberwald. I mean, this guy is a he's a genius, right? He's brilliant.
Yeah.
B, he has the skills to do exactly what we're talking about, right? He has leaned on an entire community of mentors to help him through all of the processes, and he landed recently a job at Clue
Oh,
as an
yeah.
AE. Uh, when all of the if he would have just looked at if Jacob would have just looked at the job description for what he was applying for and made an assessment as to whether he should apply, he probably wouldn't have applied.
Yeah.
They required, in their job description, what they were looking for was way more than what he had. But the confidence that he got from his tribe and the people that were around him, mentoring him and helping him, prove it out, right? Jacob just closed his first deal. He
Yeah.
just got hired, right? He just closed his first deal. So that's one of those cases where it's just like, man, because of his willingness and humility to reach out to people and ask for help in specific spaces and ways, his already high level of aptitude, Jacob was able to parlay that into a really, really strong role in a space where potentially he would have never been had he looked at the job description and let that rule whether or not he went for it.
Oh,
And so that's why it's so important for us to build a community that is looking outward, right? So, you, me, like the things that we're talking about now, the things that we're trying to do are so important because we need to be finding these people who we see something in, and we need to continue to encourage them in that, but also give them the blueprint for how they can actually navigate the cycles, and get involved in sales, right? Because it is a life-changing scenario for many.
oh, love it, man.
Yeah.
Um, and the list goes on. I'm sure, like so many
Yeah, for
others
sure. Yeah,
that
this. I
you're.
mean, yeah. I mean, we can keep going. I mean, we could talk about probably the trajectory of somebody like a Marcus Knight, who's now running his own organization, and helping other organizations run successfully. Right. We can look at someone like Nathan Krabs or Philip Moore or Roderick Jefferson, right, who is one of our elder statesmen in the game, and
Yeah.
having conversations with him, he is thinking in the same way. There are things that I today wonder whether I can do, and having a conversation with like someone like Roderick, where he's just like, listen, let me give you the blueprint for how
Yeah.
you actually proceed and grow in the way that you want to grow. Like, we all need it, and it's very difficult to find in certain cases, but we need to build a community that makes it easy for young, middle-aged, and older sellers, to be given and groomed in the confidence that they need to pursue the things that seem bigger than they can reach.
There's a lot out there, man. There's so much in this pie, for a lot of room for people to come and get a piece of this pie,
That's
uh,
right. Yeah.
in this sales arena. And I just love what you're doing here. Any other thoughts that you would give us on when it comes towards lowering the barriers, for people of color when it comes towards sales, that might hinder them back? Any other thoughts?
I would urge companies, organizations to think through, like, what is it that's being said, that may convey implicit bias, in some of the application process or even in some of the JDs. It's the same kind of conversation we have around JDs that speak in a masculine sense that make women think that they shouldn't apply, right? So a lot of people are applying a lot of science to figuring out how you can have a gender neutral job description. Well, I'd like
Yeah.
to see this. I'd like to see the same level of introspection when it comes to making sure that you have job descriptions that are not boxing out marginalized people, for whatever reason, whether it's the experience you're expecting or the description of the attributes that you're looking for. Maybe you're describing people who look like you. Maybe you're describing people from backgrounds like yours, and I think that we need to take a look at that. And then us, we who are already in the space, I feel like we need to make sure that we're learning from those who went before us. We're continuing to learn and sharpen one another with those who are beside us in the space, and then we're always looking back, to those who are not yet in the space, should be in the space, and have some interest in getting to the space, and making sure we expend our time and our energy and our resources to make sure that they're properly equipped.
Oh, man, Dewan, you're hitting this on 100% on the mark here. Now, when this episode goes live, this will be on February 3rd that this is going
Mm,
live. So,
yeah,
by this time, 2 days ago, something huge was announced. So, do you
that's
mind
right.
talking about that right now for a second?
Yeah, super excited about it. This is something that, again, some of the people I've already mentioned, are spearheading. Jacob, enormous vision for such a young guy.
Yeah.
Um, Gabriel Blackwell, Jacob Geberwall, Marcus Knight, Mercy Bell, Nathan Crafts, Philip Moore, Roderick Jefferson, Shelton Banks, out of Atlanta. Like this whole group of people and many, many more have come
Morgan.
together. Yeah, Morgan Ingram, yeah, who created the entire Slack channel that this thing came from, have really put together a community that's designed really by Black tech sellers for Black tech sellers to do a lot of what we just finished talking about, right? To make sure that Black people are attracted to, empowered in, enabled for, and included in the tech sales profession, right? And so this community, we're calling it Sales for the Culture. I'm a participant. I'm a learner within this group, and I am super excited for it. Launches February 1. You'll probably see a lot about it on LinkedIn and so forth, but the goal is to do all of what we're talking about and then some.
I'm so excited for it too. I'm part of the
Yeah,
group and some of the things that's happening and learning as well, and it's
yeah,
it's so impactful. And right along the line, I'm grateful to be able to be a participant as well, to see that. So,
yeah. It's exciting, man. It's really exciting because we can change some of these narratives.
DeJuan, somebody's listening to this and she is thinking about, or he's come thinking about jumping into sales, or they know somebody that could benefit from this, and they're like, man, I
Yeah.
need to this guy. How do they connect with you?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I would say absolutely. Also connect with like Morgan Ingram, Kevin K.D. Dorsey, Jacob Geberwald, all of the people that I've already named, Marcus Collins. I mean, the list goes on from that perspective. But what I'm going to do is probably point you directly to this group, Sales for the Culture, because no matter where you are thinking about sales, but not yet already in sales at an SDR level, already in sales at an AE level, already in sales as a sales leader. There's a sub community for every one of us, and there's a lot of sharing back and forth to do exactly what we're talking about: equipping, enabling, empowering, and preparing.
Love it, man. Well, DeJuan, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today. Again, appreciate you, brother, and good luck
Yeah,
with everything you're doing, man.
yeah, I appreciate your time. Thanks for having me again, man. It's always a great time.
Anytime. Listen, that was my friend, Mr. DeJuan Brown, and he's doing some amazing things with the amazing group that he's talking about. And if you want to learn more about them, Sales for the Culture, you can find all the information in the show notes where you can go ahead and connect back to DeJuan and take advantage of connecting with the community. Also, I mean, yeah, this guy is just an amazing individual to know. He's doing some amazing stuff, and doesn't matter who you are, you can learn from DeJuan. And I want you to check him out and connect with him, learn about the book that he was a part of, and also some of the amazing things that he's doing right now with Seismic. You can find his link in the video show notes and the notes below, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, just swipe up on the cover art, and we have all the details there. As always, I share stuff like this. I bring folks on and friends like DeJuan because I want to help you. I want you to succeed. I want you to find more of those ideal customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to close more deals. But most importantly, I want to challenge you each and every single day to go out and do big things. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you enjoyed the content, I ask you to go ahead and hit that like button, that thumbs up at the bottom right-hand corner. Also, to make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. This way we'll keep you up to date with all the latest sales strategies, latest tools, and things that are going to help you to not only find more prospects, but to close more deals. Thanks so much.